BPMNation.com.
All right, here we go. 1 week. That's the perfect thing, I would think. The perfect time to say, hey, you know what? Why don't we launch our show open? What do you think about that as an idea? I think you would say we would do it?
That's my goal.
That's your goal? All right, let's open it.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
As the announcer says, I'm Brian, and I want to remind you once again that I and on my team, we're passionately dedicated, wholeheartedly committed to just one thing, and that thing is you. I start my day, I end most nights trying to figure out how we together can disrupt your distorted opinion of yourself once and for all. Now, I'm not interested, nor should you be, in the watered down or the inauthentic, herd-approved version of yourself. We're talking about the real you. This morning, we're going to be talking about the authentic you, the all-natural you sitting at your core, waiting for you to unleash it. So, right now, enough head games. No more brainwashing, no more blind spots, no more personal apathy, atrophy, or amnesia. And why is that so important? Because the key, the one and only key to personal happiness, spiritual fulfillment, and professional success is to recall, right? Revive and release your inner superhuman, your all-natural being, and the myriad natural resources that are hardwired into you, right? You come with a bag of goods, put here, you're ready to go, you have a destiny, you have the tools to achieve that destiny, which is cool because you deserve to live your life at the pinnacle, and we're going to show you how. You were born fully capable of truly leading a spectacular life, and it's my job to remind you each day, every day, my job to turbocharge your brain, to help you get a hold of your head before the day does, before you head out the door. Now, if you choose to hang out here, your days of surrender are over. No more self-imposed barriers, no more personal limitations fabricated out of fear, right? No more hobbled souls. It's time to unleash your inner superhuman, so let's hit it. Coming to you live from Metropolitan Co-working, the home of 14 Blends, right? Beautiful downtown Aurora, Illinois. Here for his final day. He's helped me. This is like a 1 week, kind of like an anniversary. Yep. He's been helping me all week. Bob Lockwood from Full Armor Studios here, well, all over Aurora, Fox Valley, really, you know, a man about town. He's been here graciously teaching me, because after all these years, I've grown accustomed to being in front of the camera, but behind the microphone has really been freaky. I'm learning all kinds of different things. So, Bob, thank you and for hanging out all week and help getting me up to speed.
And I feel like I'll come back from time to time, kind of like a bad rash or something.
I don't know about the bad rash, but that's the cool thing, because I'll talk to Matt. I'll have the combination changed or the key code thing changed on the lock, so I don't have to worry.
I actually, he's right now changing it.
He's changing it right now. Very cool.
No more.
You know, we always talk about what happens to me on the drive in, always, right? 6 days in. Right?
Yeah,
but we become a habit of what happens to me driving on the way in. And this morning I heard something that reminded me of yesterday's show when we were talking about living in the moment. A reporter, I think maybe from the BBC, saying that as journalists, they've learned never to predict what's going to happen more than 2 minutes from now. Saying they always get in trouble when they try to tell you how they think a story is going to play out, if it's greater than the now, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of this moment, they're like, I don't know, I'm a reporter. I can't foresee the future. No crystal balls, right? No crystal balls. Live in the moment, as we talked about yesterday, where the unimaginable power of living in the present, where that power thrives, where that power bubbles up. And if you want to be able to tap into it, all you got to do is stay in the present, right? Not necessarily easy, but it is a simple concept. And I also wanted to give a shout out this morning, Bobby. It kind of all goes into the same thing. You know, we'll do the early morning meme. But before that this morning, you know, Facebook is doing this whole thing now where they send you back to a time in the past where you posted something or, you know, some event in your life.
Yeah, like and then I think it's, what is it, Time Hop? Or
is that what it's called?
And maybe that's the app. But there's something like, remember, there's something.
All right. Well, it's just a way of throwing you back so that you can remember different things in your past, right?
Yeah.
Try to get everybody engaged. And I had a really nice post this morning from someone who had listened years ago about a quote I did from Dante, where Dante says, look, if you eat someone else's bread, it's supposed to be salty. If you follow in someone else's steps, it's supposed to be challenging, right? And he talks about you're not here to photocopy somebody else. You're not here to be a knockoff, right? No fake designer bags, if you will. You're here to be yourself, which led me to think about this morning's early morning meme when I wrote it up. And that is to say that the definition of courageous is the title given to those who habitually choose to get out of their own way. Right? So I asked this morning on Facebook for a definition, and on Twitter, I asked for a definition of bravery. How do you define bravery? And when you do some of the studies and you think about people that are excited about being authentic, excited about being originals, the key to that, more times than not, is just being courageous enough, being brave enough to get out of your own way. You know what you're put here to do. You know what you need to do, but times we let that little voice, that entourage, right? We talk about the crawl spaces in your mind, Bob. We let that entourage start to chime in, right? We live by the committee vote. So today, I thought we could talk about what it takes to be courageous and listen to that still small voice, right? The true definition of bravery is to do it when the voices in your head and the committee vote around you are saying, oh, I'd go slow, I'd be careful. You know what I mean? This may not work out, so that's what we're going to focus on today.
I'll say when I hear that committee vote, go slow, unless it's like super harm, sometimes I just like, maybe they should just do the exact opposite.
That's a great way to be. Think about it. Unless in the moment you can decide whether that advice is really good for you or whether people are looking to treat you like a pincushion, right? Because remember, there are a lot of folks that are absolutely comfortable, and if you're one of them listening, well, I can't believe you'd be listening. You won't be listening for very long. But if you're one of those people that dig hanging out, being a couch potato, who am I to say? Who are we to say, right? You could absolutely be doing it. But what we found over all these years of study, and we're going to talk about a really great study today from Penn University about authenticity and rugged individualism.
Something maybe you and I can more agree on than yesterday?
Maybe so. Yeah, but that's the beauty of doing this. I'm hoping that people that listen, as we said yesterday, I don't want them taking my opinion from them. I frankly would like them to ignore what I say and just go and do their own 20-minute victory. Right. Figure it out for themselves, and then be their own guru. Be their own expert. Be their own rock star, right? Because you were put here. No doubt in my mind you were put here to be a rock star. And a lot of people just hang out in a recliner, right? Couch potatoes. But if that's the way you are, chances are pretty good you're not a fan of people that are going to show you up. So if you're listening to the show this morning and you have an example of someone that's kind of held you back just because their apathy is contagious, just because they want you to be like they are, right? I call them walking, talking Venus flytraps, right? Human pits of quicksand. You get anywhere near them, you're automatically sucked into their vision of not only what they think about their life, but misery loves company. They want you involved as well. So, as always this morning, go ahead and give us a text if you have, give us a definition of your own bravery. You can text us at 331-684-SOUL, spelled S-O-U-L, 331-684-SOUL, or 331-684-7685. You can also jump into the chat room right now. If you're on like a laptop or maybe even a tablet or a smartphone, look over the right-hand side. You'll see a chat tab here on IPM Nation on our page. Just click on that. We'll be able to watch the chat as well. So again, Bob, courageous, title given to those who habitually choose to get out of their own way. What do you think about that?
I think I agree with that. I'd say, yeah.
Okay, well, here's what I thought we would do this morning. We can talk about, and the title of the article from the University of Pennsylvania, The Benefits of Being Yourself. It's a great article. It's a long article, but what I thought I'd do is probably jump ahead to the end, kind of summarize what they're saying, and then, we'll throw it up for discussion and see what people...
Kind of like how I read a lot of the books. Just jump to the end, see who did it, and move on.
Okay, we could look at it that way. Sure, we'll go to the end right before the references, and then we'll go ahead and post this so that you can see it yourself. But they're talking about the benefits of being yourself.
And when was the study? Just out of curiosity.
Just last year.
Just last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Why is that okay?
I was just
Do you
curious.
you don't did you didn't bring your laptop this morning, so you're not able to actually look at this stuff. Well, this is your final day, right?
got the
So you're
internet.
kicking back, relaxing.
on my
Oh,
nice
okay.
success. Which
Okay.
I mean, if you say it fast enough, sounds like success.
Very cool.
You know.
They go on and on about the results of their investigation, where they say that there is absolutely a positive correlation between levels of authenticity and uniqueness and a sense of well-being when you have that self-acceptance, right? That individuals, although you could say we enjoy being in a clique, we enjoy being in a crowd, we enjoy having a family, that there is an overwhelming amount of evidence now that says that when you're authentic, that well-being bubbles up from inside of you. And as you know, it's because I think we're all put here for an authentic reason. We're all put here to be an original, right? If the divine, however you define it, decided, you know what, let's just do a photocopy machine, right? Then there'd be like a giant Xerox wherever that takes place. And everyone would be like, okay, you'd hear the sound. I remember back in law enforcement days when you had to hand crank a mimeograph machine.
Oh yeah. No, how about
Right?
the,
And everybody would be run out that
Is
way.
that the same thing as the Ditto machine where it was like purple?
I think it is a Ditto machine. Is that what it's called?
There was a couple versions. I think there were a couple brands. I think Mimic was one of them, and Ditto.
Oh, okay. So that's how it would sound, right? You'd be going and saying, okay, I want to be like everybody else. But then your well-being wouldn't be what doctors now say you would want it to be, where authenticity and uniqueness. We talked yesterday about the difference between style and fashion. Fashion is for the herd. Fashion is, right? And I just mean by herd, I mean the collective.
Sure.
Collective approved, right? Or you have style, which is more from the soul, which is more unique, more individual, more authentic. So that when you express your style, it may not necessarily fit in with fashion, but you own it. It's yours. And the study goes on to say that based on the information regarding people's needs for distinctiveness, as well as all the data supporting the relationship between authenticity and well-being, people's sense of self is improved. Their sense of self-reflection, when they express themselves. So it's not only what they put out, but how they see themselves once it's out there, all tremendously beneficial when you practice on being unique. And I think if you look at the biology of it, it's why we all have, what do they say? No one has the same two fingerprints, right? I think I read something somewhere where it says people don't have the same patterns in their eyes, that you're terribly unique. And we know all the way down to the DNA, with the exceptions of certain types of twins, that even there, you're terribly unique. So the biological underpinning of it is that you were put here to be different.
Right.
Yep, we all want to get along. We all want to fit in with the group. But we were put here to be different. And that's why I think studies like this show that there's a massive benefit to being unique. Now, you don't have to go out of your way to strut your stuff and being unique, but in your own heart, in your mirror, when you climb out of bed in the morning or before you fall asleep at night, do you have a sense of who you truly are? Your all-natural being that we talk about, right? You're superhuman. How many Supermen? How many in the original? You're a huge fan of cartoons.
Yeah.
In the original Superman, how many Supermans were there?
In the original Superman, there was only one.
There's only one. Now, notwithstanding all the different actors,
Yeah,
right?
no.
I got to watch what I say with you because we're always worried about the vernacular. Other than 15
In the
different
origi-
actors
in
that
the
have paid
original one.
Batman,
Yeah, in the
how many
original.
Batmans were there?
There was just the one Batman.
There was just the one. So when you look at superheroes, Captain America,
One.
there you go. So all I'm asking you is who's your superhuman? What is he or she all about? What is she or he here to do?
Right.
What are they here to do? And when you find that now, there's an overwhelming positive psychology that comes from not only accepting it about yourself, but expressing it outwardly in the world. And that's what I'm so excited about, talk about courage this morning, because it takes some courage to ignore all the no votes in your life, right? You got to be a little brave, even to ignore some of the no votes in your own head. Takes some courage to do that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And I'd even say it takes courage. I mean, even some of the people that may love you, that are trying to do it in your best interest, you're saying, you know what? I'm not jiving with this. I'm not going with it. I'm going to go this direction. and make a run for it.
All right, well, that's a great point. Let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about just that, because that's kind of this is the segue for that. Talking about, well, let's let the announcers do it. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
All right, Bobby, we talked before about hijacking your heart and your head, right? When you let the committee vote, when you let the herd, when you let outside opinion and conjecture take over the cockpit, right? Hijack your own cognition.
I think it's so easy, though, in this, I feel like I say this phrase almost every day now.
Okay.
It's just so easy because you see so much content on television where it's bad stuff or good stuff, but it just kind of taking up space.
Well, when you look at it now, they say that when you, depending upon a particular portable phone that you purchase or the tablet you purchase or any of the other things you do, when you look at all those things, right, and you say, okay, great, I want this, they say it's as much a status symbol as anything else.
Really?
Status, sure.
Well, I guess that
come on. So you've never pulled your iPhone, like whatever it is now. What do you have, like an iPhone 11 SP or
6S?
6S is what they're up to now. You pull those things out. Good morning, Matt. How are you? We've got a couple friends here in the studio audience, right? So Matt, I love it. I don't want to say because I don't want to get him in trouble with anyone else, but I love riding with Matt. Right? You talk about authentic and unique. When he gets behind the wheel of a car, he knows how to move it. He's like a race car driver.
That's a high
he's
compliment because you almost loathe driving with me.
Oh, well, you know why? I love being chauffeured. Right? I'm as soon as I have anyone that says I'll drive, I'm like, great, I'll buy lunch. I don't need to distract. I'm off in my own world most times, which is interesting that you say that, though, because we had a listener call in yesterday talking about staying in the moment. And he said to me, do you ever drive to the office and it's like a 30-minute drive and then you get there and you don't remember anything about the drive?
That's like most of my drives.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's safer for me to let someone else drive whenever I can, right? But he raises a valid point in discussing yesterday's show. A lot of people do that. They have a goal of where they want to be, but they don't pay attention to all the cool things that are going down in the moment, right? It's all about the destination, not about the now. And I think, again, it takes courage. We're talking about bravery. Most times when people say, well, you square your chest, you look bigger than the threat, they think bravery is something that's always communicated outwardly. They think courage is something that has to be shown outwardly. It's my position. Has to be shown inwardly first. You have to be courageous first on the inside. You have to be able to ignore your own voices of fear, the own voices of wanting to be comfortable, right?
I would also add you have to do it on almost behind the scenes. And
in what way?
Just kind of, knowing that I saw this post and said doing the right things are like some of the simplest things where you don't. It's not going to be noticed. It's just doing the right thing.
That's great. It's because it's important to you, right? If you want to do it, here's the thing I say all the time. I have a habit just because it's left over from my mom. Right. When I was little, she always taught me to hold the door. You come up to something, you open the door for whoever's standing around. You let them go through first. Yeah. Always, always, always. And most times you'll have someone say thank you. I've had a couple people say to me, I don't need your help. I can, I'm strong, independent. I can get my own door. Great. God love you. Farewell. Right? But if someone doesn't thank you for opening the door, you don't do it to get the thank you. So if someone just completely ignores me when I open the door, right, I do it out of memory for my mom. I don't care about your opinion as to whether... Well, I care about your opinion if you don't want me to open the door for you. It won't happen a second time if I recognize you. But other than that, I don't do it for the thank you. I don't do it for the outside vote of whether I think that was right or not. And as you were saying, if we only do it when other people are looking, then you're not really, in my estimation, doing it for the right reason. You could be.
Yeah.
But until it's congruent on the inside, until instead of letting them hijack your heart and your head, you work to dovetail your heart and your head. Yeah. Then you're doing it for a vote, and I don't need applause. I don't need the thumbs up. I don't need the thank you for doing stuff like that. It's just What'd I do? Out of memory from my mom. I remember one time at a mall, I was busy doing something else, right? Classic Brian. And I forgot to open the door, and I walked in. I think I was talking to my dad at the time. Walked in, talking to my stepfather. Walked in and forgot to get the door. And so I turned to my left and said, right, Mom? I look back. She's outside on the curb with her arms folded. I never made that mistake again. So you raise a very valid point. Do it for your heart and not necessarily for the committee vote. They may dovetail, right? I'm not saying don't do any good acts in public. Just make sure it's congruent in your own heart first. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Can I, if you will, say more on that right quick?
Sure, go right ahead.
My son,
okay,
him and I were talking, and he goes, Dad, I struggle because I want to always do the right thing. But then I don't get rewarded. And I said, well, it's always not about the reward. He goes, no, I totally get that. But these kids that do the right thing or do the things and they like almost purposely do it in front of the teacher and then they get the reward. He goes, I kind of feel like cheated. And not cheated, but I don't think he used that word. But he's just like, I kind of feel like I'm always doing the right thing, but I don't get any recognition.
Well, that's a great point, Bob.
Like,
golly. Right.
You know what? But you're doing the right thing, and that's why you're not getting any recognition.
Right. We all have to learn it.
And he goes, okay.
That's a great lesson to teach him, right? Because you do it because it feels good, it feels honorable, it feels right. But if you're only doing it for applause, then you have to wonder, right? You're like renting timeshares. You're doing a particular action, and if that action helps get you what you want in that moment, then, okay, now I'm being validated from the outside, which, again, isn't bad in and of itself, right? Everyone likes this concept of acclaim. Everyone likes this concept of being popular. Mm-hmm. All I'm suggesting, and even if it's only 20 minutes at a time, make sure that you're popular with your reflection in the mirror, right? And we talk about it. And I was speaking to a publicist yesterday after the show, and she says, well, what do you think about all this stuff and everything going on in the media about shaming? Body shaming, age shaming, and all these different things where people are being shamed because of their body size, because of their hairline, their education. It's a popular term.
Really?
So I thought to myself, all the shaming in the world can only register if you concur with it, right? If someone wants to come and shame you, you have to buy into it. You have to sign off on it. You have to adopt it as a part of your script. If not, you let it go.
Well, let me offer this to you because
a lot of offerings today.
I bring offerings.
Bring offerings, good, but no breakfast sandwiches. I saw, and I got slammed from another person on Facebook because you brought me a Diet Coke.
You got slammed?
Well, I just said, why are you drinking Diet Coke?
Oh,
well, because the regular Coke would drive me crazy. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
One die. Can't be those odds. Anyways, I do a lot of photography. I do portraits, headshots, whatever.
You're a photographer?
Let's just keep that between us. And the,
oh, yeah, great. I won't out you. Don't worry. Don't anyone let Bobby know he's a photographer. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I will tell you that the individual is the hardest person on themselves because they see all the imperfections, and I see this all the time. Oh, I don't take great photos. I mean, I've talked to gorgeous people, men and women.
Right, sure.
And they're like, I just don't, and they see all the little imperfections and whatnot. And I think when other people like hone in on it,
could very well be. The key is
magnifies it.
The key is, and people go, well, Brian, what could you possibly know about it? I have a hair lip. If any of you have ever seen me, I say all the time, I have a face for radio, right? The last place I belong is in front of a TV camera, right? But with the hair lip, it is always the first thing I see when I catch my reflection. Always. But I've learned to not let it define me. So people can see their imperfections, right? You don't want to go around with, with an ostrich with his head in the sand, right? You don't want to go around with your head in the clouds. You don't want to see the reality, but you don't have to own that as a part of who you are. I don't introduce myself and go, hi, I'm Brian. Obviously, I have a hair lip.
Right.
Right? Who would do that? So I would think for people like that say, two types of people. They truly believe it. Oh, I have these imperfections. Mm-hmm. And there's a group of people, sad as it is to say, that are waiting for you to go, oh, good golly, don't even, you're beautiful, or you're stunning, or you're charismatic. They're looking for a compliment. All I'm suggesting, even if it's only 20 minutes at a time, 1/72 of your day. Again, don't listen to me. Listen to that still small voice. Listen to your gut, your spine, your instinct, your intuition. 20 minutes a day. What if you could look at yourself and go, I'm not doing any shaming. I'm done with the character assassination, right? Because if we're right, and you know in my heart, I believe we are, if we're right, yourself is tired of getting maligned, right? Which is the thing I have with the self-help industry. I say all the time, don't fall for self-help industry tactics. Yourself's doing great. What you use on the remote control to put on the TV screen of your mind might be suspect, right? Your self-appraisal skills might be crapola, term we got yesterday on Facebook, might be crapola. And I want to thank everyone. We got dozens. It went on all night last night. People go, well, I would do this. I would do that. So we got some really cool ideas as to other words. But I'm going to stick with crapola this morning. Don't fall for that, right? Don't fall for it. Look in the mirror. Be thankful that you're here, right? Because there's all kinds of people. There was a story the other day. A guy driving, a bridge falls on him. Pancaked him. Done. He didn't realize the bridge was going to fall on him. I'm assuming if he had, he wouldn't have driven under the bridge. In this moment, right now, next 20 minutes, 1/72nd of your day, like our reporter this morning, they can't tell what's going to happen 3 minutes from now. They just try to focus on the 2 minutes they're in. Can you look in the mirror and be proud of who you are? Happy. And as we say all the time, this isn't necessarily easy, right? I call it elite mindfulness, as you know. Yep. Elite mindfulness isn't necessarily easy. You got to practice it, just like push-ups or sit-ups or pull-ups, right? Jumping jacks. You got to practice. But it is simple. When you stand in front of that mirror or you have a situation where you're going to go all negative on yourself or you're going to allow negative outside opinions to come in, don't run from them. Listen to them and go, why did that just tweak me? I saw something this morning. Someone sent me a post saying that it's if you're worried about people's opinions of you, negative opinions of you, don't focus on why they have a negative opinion. Focus on why you let it happen to you. Why is their negative opinion making you go negative on yourself? Right? That's the real question. Why is someone with a pin sticking you because you're a pin cushion? That's what they do, right? That's what they do. But why do you permit that? We talked before about Gandhi's quote, I don't let people walk in my mind with dirty feet. Well, we had Jen yesterday send us the thing about, what was it, brain litter? Brain litter, yes. Brain litter, yeah, right? Brain Binge litter. Thinking, all these other things, all these other opinions and ideas and conjectures and rules for how you should live your life. For 20 minutes, don't let them in. And when you feel them coming in, ask yourself, how is it benefiting me, given that opinion an audience? Absolutely. How is it benefiting me? What do I get out of listening to something negative about myself? Because maybe it could be like, hey, Bri, you got a piece of, or something in your goatee. Or, a bird hit you. I had it happen before. A bird hit you on the shoulder. Well, that's advice you want, right? You want to be able to clean yourself up. Or, you got a flat tire. Or
stuff like that. No, it's funny you say that. I think that's just being a good human being and good, if you will, citizen. And it's so funny because people are kind of like, well, how do I tell them they've got something in their teeth? Or, it's funny you say that.
Well, that's an example of some news you can use, right? Hey, thanks, I appreciate it. Or, if you come out of a public washroom and there's a white paper on your foot, right? Toilet paper hanging from your foot. It's always funny, right? People are always laughing when they see that. Some guy walking down the street. When you want someone saying, hey, by the way, you ought to check your shoes. Or, hey, did you step in something when you were running through the field? That's news you can use. Right. But for people that are going to go negative just because it makes them feel positive, right? They go negative on you because it gives them a sense of feeling positive themselves. Why would you adopt that as your own philosophy, right? We talk about don't let yourself be a pincushion. World's full of pins. Everyone's waiting to pop your balloon, to smack your piñata, right? Everyone. Why let them? Why let them? And that's what I'm talking about in terms of courageous. Be able to listen to what they're saying. Don't go to guns right away, right? Don't get all fired up and offended. Because you know what I believe? Absolutely. Only people that are offendable can be offended. Yep. If you don't believe you have thin skin, if you don't believe you have a thin backbone, you don't have much of a spine, if you don't believe that, none of that can get in. None of that can get in. So for me, I think that's the definition of courageous. Not only to be able to ignore it on the outside, but to take it in long enough to see, hey, does it work? Is there something I can glean for this? Is this a benefit to my all-natural being? Will this help me further my superhuman status? Or do I go ahead and send this criticism to voicemail, right? Do I turn down the volume and just do I just ignore it? All right, Bobby, we're going to run to a quick break. We will be back in just a moment.
All right.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
All right, Bobby, we're back. So, never too late. Got a lot of questions the last couple of days about specifically what is a 20-minute victory. And we know now science behind neuroplasticity. I could go ahead and pull up 100 websites, so I won't go ahead and do that. Just Google, right? If you're near your phone or your tablet or your computer, just Google neuroplasticity. One of the coolest findings of the last decade is that regardless of how old you are, your brain works to build new connections, right? Your neurons dig hanging out with other neurons.
Yep.
So you can learn new skills. You can learn new things at any stage of your life. I love the fact that you're already working with your son, right? Because you can teach these things from a very early age. Yesterday we were talking about a particular, a group of people that sell cookies, and they're already encouraging young people to live outside of the moment, right? Oh, what are you going to do in the future? How's it going to be down the road? Well, how is it right now under your feet? Right? How is it right now under your feet? And that's what I would like people to focus on. So when we get to specifically, what can you do in a 20-minute victory? We talked before about you can either schedule them or they can be spur of the moment. They can be impromptu or they can be intended. Either way, whether they're on your chart or they're, uncharted territory, let's say, in the moment, you take that 20 minutes, and I call it the BEST acronym. Now, I used to use this out in the wilderness a lot, right? Because what we say all the time, if you panic, you perish. It's called the BEST acronym because here's what it stands for. B is for breathe in. In any situation where you're confronted by an aggressor, whether it's a person, a thought, a situation, the weather, whatever it is, you got to take a deep breath because you hear people, I was petrified, right? I was scared stiff. Look at those words. They're stiff. Their lungs don't work. Their chest doesn't work. And we'll get to their eyes in a second, but they're petrified. Right. So the quickest way to communicate to your body is, hey, I'm in control, is to take a breath. Because you breathe all the time. You breathe every day. You breathe tens of thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of times, weeks, months, and years, right? You're breathing all the time. So when you're confronted by that situation, B is for breathe in. Take a nice deep breath. Second part of the acronym is E. You got to exhale. And here's why. Everyone goes, oh, wow. Oh, Brian, but of course you know how to exhale. Think back to the last time you were scared stiff. Holding your breath. You see it all the times in like military parades or where people they're on stage and they're about ready to get an award. What happens? They pancake. They fall over because they're not breathing, right? They tighten up their legs, their arms, their core, and all of a sudden, no breath. Right? They fall over on stage. Breathe in, exhale. After you exhale, you're communicating to your body, I got this, right? You decide that you're going to use the chemicals. You're going to drive the bus. Right. The chemicals aren't going to use you. So breathe in, exhale. And this just takes a couple of seconds. So people say, well, I don't got time to think through all that. Well, you better, right? Breathe in, exhale. Then the S in the BEST acronym is scan your horizon. Now, even though this works out in the wild, it can work in any situation. Let's say you're getting into an argument with a loved one or a coworker, or you're pulled over for a ticket, or there's a road rage incident. You breathe in, exhale, right? That hijacks the physiology back, so you're controlling it, right? And not the more animalistic, the more fight or flight syndrome and all the chemicals that kick in. You kind of retake control of the bus.
Right.
Breathe in, exhale, then scan the horizon. Because here's what happens. Most times when people are afraid, when they're scared, they get tunnel vision.
Right.
And you've even heard like, oh, well, my vision got all gray or I blacked out. What happens is your eyes start to focus on one little dot. But I promise you, if you breathe in, you exhale, and just look to the left, look to the right. And people will say, well, I've got to focus on the threat. So it'll take you a second or two. Look to the left. Look to the right, because the moment you scan the horizon, again, your body goes, well, he doesn't have tunnel vision. He's breathing. He's exhaling. He's taking in everything going on around him. What's
And
really going on?
if it's a road rage situation, you're looking for cops.
We're looking for cops or anything, but you know what I mean? Just just
just teasing.
take a
Yeah,
moment
yeah.
to use your eyes, because your eyes. You hear all the time. Oh, you want to stop crying? Look up. The body is amazing, and you can use the biological aspects. You can use your physical aspects to control your philosophical aspects. You ever hear someone say, "Oh, if you're not feeling good, just sit up straight, hang upside down, whatever you're going to do, whatever gymnastic you're going to do." But there's a reason for it, because your body and your mind. Not to go all anti-Descartes, right? I think, therefore I am, and that whole duality. But your body and your mind are intimately connected. So when you use your physiology, it absolutely affects your philosophy. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, and the T in the best acronym is then you take action, right? Coworkers yelling at you. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon. And if it takes you a second or two to look around, while I'm doing it, I'm thinking, is this something I want to argue about? Right? I'm scanning, thinking in my mind. You know, everyone says, or you probably even tell your kids, count to 10.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I don't know if anyone's going to stand there and count to 10, although sometimes that can be very helpful. I would say, as you're scanning the horizon, go, is that anything I'm really worried about? Do I need to get all, defensive about this? Is there something that I can take from it? Right? Is there something that can help me tap into my all-natural being to unleash my inner superhuman? And if there is, you pay attention. If there isn't, that's the proper action to take. Where you go, hey, that's your opinion. I see it differently, but thanks for letting me know. Whatever it is. So, might be confronted to that situation, practicing for your 20-minute victories. Try it a couple times throughout the day.
So basically, you're trying to kind of like de-escalate the situation.
Yes.
Yes. It's funny I'm not say that, but it kind of reminded me of. Ever see the movie? It was with Will Smith and Jamie Foxx. It was called Bad Boys. I think it was a sequel.
Oh, okay.
Bad Boys 2.
I'll take it.
It's a bang shoot 'em up movie.
Okay.
But they're going through a little situation in their friendship.
Okay.
And Will Smith's like the total just always aggressive, just
All
like
right.
just this cop that's always got like a little edge to him.
Sure.
And the other guy's always like, we gotta de-escalate the situation. He's trying to count to 10, and he's
Right.
like, and he gets into this gun battle with a bunch of Haitians or whatever, and he's like, did you have to go right to the guns? And like they're fighting with each other. And he goes, yes, these are guys, and they're
That's
just
a
going
great
back and
point.
forth.
That's a
It's
great point.
hilarious.
So we're not only talking about the ability to de-escalate outwardly, but what we're talking about first is to de-escalate inwardly, right? Because there's no reason to go all ballistic outwardly if on the inside you go, yeah, you know what? His opinion doesn't matter to me all that much. I think he's a bit of a dweeb. So are you going to have your day ruined because some dweeb thinks he gets to treat you like a pincushion, and then all of a sudden you go, nah, why don't you keep your pin, right? I'm closed for business. No welcome mat, right? Harmful if swallowed. So guess what? I'm not going to swallow your BS. Harmful if swallowed. I'm done with you, right? But you know that when you breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon, and during that scan go, what's this really worth? Thumbs up, thumbs down, right? Is there a positive benefit to this or not? And then when you decide, fully in control of your physiology, fully in control of how your body and your mind are tied together, then you take action. Because then the real you, it's the superhuman that's taking action. Because let me promise you this, the part of us that can be offended, the part of us that can get upset, and when it happens, you can feel it. You can sometimes, like, your jaw starts to tighten.
Oh, yeah.
You can feel, it's not so much hair standing up on the back of your neck like you're afraid, but there's just something that happens to the hair on your back of your neck. Maybe you raise your shoulders a little bit. I feel it sometimes in my stomach.
Oh,
In that moment when you're ready to go, that's it. Go, okay, is there really a reason that this has to be it? Or can I, to use your term, can I de-escalate, right?
Yeah.
And make sure that this interaction is a benefit to me. I don't want to hurt someone else, but I'm sure not myself going to be hurt, right?
Again, there's that phrase, out of the mouth of babes. My son goes, he said something, and he was like, I just want to do the right thing because I don't want to be like the bad kids, because they don't understand that, like, what they're doing now is going to really hurt them later. And I'm like, holy smokes. Like,
well, that's why I say it's great that you can start to work with your son at an early age, because not only is it going to hurt the person they're involved in, but later that sense of guilt, that sense of remorse, right? Yeah. That sticks with us. Mm-hmm. And then you start to shame yourself because you feel, I could have handled that situation better. I could have been a superhuman in that moment. I didn't need to go to the gutter, right? I didn't need to defame someone else. Because most times you'll see we attempt to defame someone else because they think they're defaming us.
Right.
But I always think of harmful if swallowed. It's only harmful if I ingest what the person's saying about me.
Yeah.
And believe me, you've seen some of the stuff. We get all kinds of negative comments because of the philosophies that I talk about. Not just here, but on camera and YouTube, wherever we are. But it's only harmful if swallowed, right? I remember growing up in the Pittsburgh area, there was what was called a Mr. Yuck sticker. And it was like a green sticker with a monster face, sticking his face out, going like, bleh, right? And you'd put it on chemicals. So heaven forbid, a young child got to a cupboard that had bleach or this or that or whatever, you would have a Mr. Yuck sticker. So you could train them, not like today where, some dishwasher detergent looks like, I don't know, what's the sprees? What's the little candies, the multicolored candies or whatever, right? Not like then. Back in the day, they wanted to make sure that you could just teach your child, here's the Mr. Yuck sticker. If you see that sticker, don't touch it. Go get mom or dad, right? Go get your big brother, your big sister, whoever. So imagine a Mr. Yuck sticker. It's harmful if swallowed. Only if you accept it, if you adopt it. UPS shows up at your door. You open the door. UPS driver goes, we got a package from Mr. Lockwood. Right? If you don't sign for the package, what does the UPS driver do?
They take it back.
They take it back. Someone knocks up with a pin to treat your heart like a pin cushion. They knock on the door. They go, hey, Bob, I got a pin for you. What happens if you don't sign for it?
Just hand them back a pin. There you go.
Yeah. That's what happens to people. They want to pin them back, right? It becomes a sword fight with pins.
Yeah, right.
Two people running around, like
Little
two
mice.
foils. An incised foil. Having a fight. Yeah, or you could just say, you know what, I'm good.
Right.
I'm not going to sign for the pin. I don't need it. But that takes courage because it's easier to be in the rut. It's easier to stay in the conformity that says you always got to stand up for yourself. I'm not saying be passive. I'm not saying any of those things. You look at the best martial arts on the planet, and I've had the honor of working with some of them on Wudong Mountain in China. Absolutely. Some of the biggest, we've talked before, Jen Sincero's book about You're a Badass. Some of the biggest badasses on the planet, you can barely get them to raise their voice. You can barely get them to do anything. But when the red light goes on, you better be certain that you're ready to handle what you just unleashed, right? Toughest guys on the planet. It's not all verbose. It's not necessarily like a mixed martial arts match where, at the weigh-in, they're poking and fighting and doing this and doing that to build up the hype. Some of the baddest fighters I've ever witnessed are the most peaceful people until you push them. So I'm not saying be passive. I'm just saying don't let people push you. It's up to you if you present the button that they can push.
The button from Staples, that was easy.
Yeah, yes, exactly. A button like that. If you don't wear that button on your sleeve, you don't wear your heart on your sleeve, right? Like for incoming pins, you don't wear your heart on your sleeve, it's easy to get through it. Now, again, I'm not saying it's easy. We have to practice. Just like if you could teach someone to do the perfect pull-up. You're not going to go to the gym tomorrow morning and do 50 of them. You have to progressively adapt. Remember, the mind is like any other muscle. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to practicing the best acronym, comes to practicing your 20-minute victory today, progression, baby steps, little bits at a time. We're not throwing the baby out, speaking of baby steps, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This isn't anything cold turkey. We're asking for 1/72nd of your day, for 20 minutes, one little chunk of your day, to see if this fits for you. And it may not. Look, Bobby, you've been with me before. We've shot videos where, we're welcoming people to BrianBrawdy.com, and there's some memberships, there's some other things you can do. Right. And I come right out up front and say, chances are pretty good this website isn't going to be for you. Chances are pretty good. I understand that this message of elite mindfulness, of being impeccably human, right? Of releasing your inner superhuman, of always tapping in to your all-natural being, I realize that's a message that isn't for everybody. But for the people that hear it, all I'm suggesting is listen to me long enough and then ignore me. Wait for your instinct to kick in. Wait for your intuition. Wait for your heart to tell you, you know what? That nut on the radio this morning was right. There's no reason for me to shame myself. There's no reason for me to focus on my imperfections. You know, I put up earlier in the week, I think that imperfections are like the cracks that let all your amazingness out. So just be nice to yourself. No shaming for 20 minutes. And at the end of the 20 minutes, if it still feels good to shame yourself, who am I? But these things are scalable. You can build them every day. So you might have an impromptu one, or you might have a scheduled 20-minute victory. But see if that 20 minutes turns into 40 minutes. Baby steps, right? Can you go 40 minutes without having a negative thought about yourself? Like you said, the easy button, was that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go 40 minutes without running around with the easy button on your back so people can just push it and set you off? Can you do it? All right, Bobby, we're going to run to a quick break, and then we will be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because friends don't let friends fall for self-help industry tactics.
All right, Bobby. My favorite portion of the show, as you know. Oh, and you know what? Here I am in the final day, and I don't think we hit the right slider. So maybe the announcer didn't make it out, but let me tell you, as I've said before, can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. What the announcer was saying, friends don't let friends fall for self-help industry tactics. Favorite portion of the show. Favorite portion.
This is the portion where you're going to take a bullet for the crowd?
Well, yeah. Well, as I say all the time, I'm on your side even if you're not.
Right.
We're going back to what we discussed earlier. The true courage comes from realizing yourself doesn't need any help. At your core, right, where you and the divine, we hear the term namaste, where you and the divine are one, or namaste, I worship the portion where you and God are one. The divine, however you define it, you're the satellite office. You're the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchild of either the Big Bang or the Big Breath, right? However, the pulpit and the Petri dish people want to argue religion and science, right? However they want to battle. All right, what am I looking at here? However they want to battle, you and I can stay out of that. Let the other people open in the fray. For us, we know that there's a commonality, right? There's a commonality that is the dirt in our DNA. It's where we are. It's who we start with outside of the debate. So in that moment, we have to decide, who am I going to be? Am I going to get into a debate? Or can I live my life like the superhuman, like the great, as I say, grandchild of the divine? It's your call. It's always up to you.
Well, you know, it's so easy to just get into the debate. And, you know, we were talking yesterday about a particular couple authors or whatever, but there's this one guy that just says, try to always be agreeable. It's easier to sell stuff if you're agreeable.
Okay.
You know, and always say yes until you have to absolutely say no.
Okay.
That's kind of a phrase of his. And, you know, it's sometimes it's not easy to try to agree with people.
Well, I would just say agree with yourself. Make sure that you're in the position of unleashing your inner superhuman, right? Make sure that you know that in that moment, that's where the unimaginable power of living in the present comes from. And when you have that as a foundation, where you know where you're starting from, then you know how to move forward.
Right.
So I would say is be agreeable with yourself first, and then you're in the perfect position because you know who you are. If you go into any interaction less than your full superhuman, if you go into any interaction without your all-natural being, without being authentic, remember again, we talked about that study from 2015 at Penn University, just saying that the overall effect of well-being when you're an individual, when you're unique, when you operate from that base, then you know who you're interacting with, right? Because every interaction takes two, right? Takes two to tango. But if you don't know what position you're operating from, how do you know what it is okay to agree to? If you're not following your heart, if your head and your heart don't dovetail, how do you know what you should say? How do you know what the answer is? Or how do you know if you're just not going off, what's the term, half-cocked or guns blazing or whatever? Right. How would you know?
Well, yeah, and I think if you're your own person, you'll attract other people that are like you and like-minded people.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. You know, you hear all the time, well, I'm not in the greatest of relationships, or, you know, I'm not, I haven't found my soulmate, or I haven't found the love of my life. And I ask to people that confront me with that question is, are you your own soulmate? Are you the own love of your life? Now, I'm not saying be like Narcissus. narcissist, right? I'm not saying be a narcissist. You're not going to sit there and fall in love with your own reflection and die because you don't eat, or one of the myths says he falls into the pond, sees his reflection and dies. I'm not saying being narcissistic. I'm just saying, are you in love? Can you feel that sense of pride in your all-natural being? Not the entourage, not the crawl spaces, not the brain litter. I love that term. Not the brain litter.
I love that too. That's
right?
Cool.
Not the binge thinking, but can you be in love with the real you, the true you, the authentic you? Because once you do that, you're going to attract the people that are most inclined to want to dovetail in that way. But if not, you hear people say, well, the honeymoon's over. Why? Well, we've been married 2 years, and I really didn't know her that well, or I really didn't know him that well. Well, you find people always want to be on their best behavior, as you say, always want to be agreeable. Why not just wait? Make sure that you know who you are before you move out into the world, before you move out into these relationships. Have the courage to do the work on yourself first, 1 20-minute victory at a time. Right?
Using the best acronym.
Using the best acronym would be another way, because a lot of this stuff is scary. People go, it's just so much easier, as you say, so much easier, Brian, to stay in the rut, to do it the way I've always done it. Well, if you do it the way you've always done it, in the future you're going to get what you've always gotten. But what if you were born with everything you ever needed in order to get whatever you wanted, in order to be whatever you wanted? When you go back to that sense of all-natural being, outside of the shaming, outside of the laundry list, I'll bet you if you asked, we should do this sometime. You walk up to someone on the street, they could give you the top 10 things they disliked about themselves faster than they could give you the top 10 things they dig about themselves.
Oh, I totally believe that.
And why is that? Why is that? Why can't you figure out, what are you most proud of yourself?
I think people in general focus on the negative, and it's just an easy position. It's just the easiest. You always hear that phrase, going to the lowest common denominator.
Okay.
It is the lowest common denominator, and it's so easy to go there and say, okay, I can just focus on this. It's the same way with, you said earlier, defaming people.
Right.
Let me just make fun of them, or, write them off, or just, talk bad about them. Because it's easy to, and it makes, in the moment,
right,
you feel like it makes you feel better. But just, you look back, you're like, man, I was just a bag of hammers.
Well, we talked about that before, the difference between normal and natural. That this stuff goes on in your life. It may be normal, right? But I'm not talking about your normal resources. I'm talking about your natural resources, right? All natural food. Everyone's crazed. Oh, I need all natural, all natural, all natural. They worry about what they eat, but not what they think, not what they ingest through their minds, right? Oh, got to have all natural ingredients. But you'll take binge thinking and junk thoughts, deep fried phobias, fears. All I'm suggesting is for 20 minutes, treat your mind like you treat your gut. That's it, right? I love the line, irritable brain syndrome. Not just because I made it up one day, right? But you ever hear, there's a lot of bloating. Well, you got irritable brain syndrome. Oh, there's a lot of discomfort. Irritable brain syndrome. What do we got to do? Well, you need, you need a philosophical laxative. You got to get some of this going out of your brain. IBS. I should do a commercial. Hey, do you ever feel
Yeah. I was just thinking about we should.
That's
have
what I'm going to do.
Kind of.
I'll wear like a white lab coat, right? Like all these people that are trying to sell you the latest syndrome du jour. That's what we should do. You know how they have the clock that shows the national debt?
Yeah.
Ticks up, ticks up. We should have a clock that shows the newest syndromes created by the pharmaceutical industry to convince you need to buy more stuff, right? We should. That's the clock that we should have up. And then I'll run around with a stethoscope, right? And a white trench coat and take a toll. Okay, what do you think here? What do you think there? All I'm suggesting, enough irritable brain syndrome, right? Enough baggage, enough entourage. If you were a wooden table, look, if you're confident treating yourself like a tchotchke item tossed on the back table of a local 5 and dime store,
right?
The markdown table under a blue flashing light. If you're comfortable treating yourself like a penny stock, the show isn't going to be for you. Just isn't. So I would just, if you're still here, I would just click off now, because there's no reason. It may be normal, like you say, it's easy to treat ourselves like a penny stock, but that's not what we're put here to do. What's the saying I use all the time? God doesn't create junk.
Yep.
Right? No junk. No junk. You've bought into it because over the time you've had here, regardless of your age, people want to pile their junk on you because they're comfortable not unleashing their inner superhuman. They're comfortable. And misery loves company. All I'm suggesting is for 20 minutes, as we talk about, be courageous enough to get out of your own way. Right? Yeah. Put up for adoption all those things that you've ever believed about yourself. And for 1/72nd of your day, no shaming. Right? You know me. Everyone's, oh, well, the diet industry. We need aerobics. No, you need philosophical aerobics. You need some anaerobic aphorisms. You want to lose some weight? Shed some psycho fat or flab. Right? You worried about cellulite? How about cognitive cellulite? How about those things that we pack on? Binge thinking, right? How about all those things? You want to go on a diet? Go on a diet of all the things that you don't like about yourself. Go on the diet for all the things you allow people to shame you for. Key being, you allow people to shame you for, because ultimately, you're the villain. And it's like, oh, Brian, you're supposed to be being nice to people. I am being nice to people. Just suggesting if you let someone shame you, it's on you.
Right.
You're letting it in. You're letting it in. I can tell you from law enforcement days. Let's say that someone's delivering a package. We talked about the UPS before. Right. Let's say it's full of drugs. I act like a UPS guy. I'm going to come up and present you and go, hey, are you Bob Lockwood? And you go, yeah. Well, this package is sent for you to sign. Okay, I'll sign it. Till you sign for it, I can't make an arrest. You don't accept the package. I can't prove that you were the one that wanted the drugs. So don't accept the package. Don't accept the shaming. Don't put your signature on the bottom line. Don't let your easy button out there to be hit. 20 minutes. No shaming. No diet unless it's a philosophical diet. Everyone, well, I think I need to lose 20 pounds. Yeah, well, you know what? I've known some people that needed to lose 20 pounds that lived to 90 years old. Don't buy into it. Are you happy? Are you comfortable in your own skin bag? Whatever size it may be, whatever height you may be, whatever look you have, right? Whatever hairline you may or may not have, right? Whatever it is. Can you look in the mirror and be happy with who you are outside of all the entourage, outside of those thoughts that pack themselves in your mind, those cognitive calories that you get from binge thinking and, just grazing on junk thoughts all the time? Because that's not your all-natural being. That's not your superhuman status. There's some muscle under all that psycho fat and flab. And all I'm suggesting is remember who you are, and they're going to start to work to tunnel out to meet you. That's the key to elite mindfulness, putting yourself in a position to realize that at your core, there's something that's outside the fray of the storm, right? That's something that's absolutely untouchable. And it's only touched if we allow it to be touched. But minus that, it's untouchable. Candidly, I suspect it's even, who am I to tell you about the keys to the universe? I'm suggesting it's probably not even touchable ultimately if you let it be. Your soul doesn't, look, it doesn't need you to be a bodyguard. It would love it if you were, because then you get to unleash your superhuman status. You get to tap into your all-natural being. But my suggestion would be, today, as you move forward, remember, courageous, title given to those who habitually choose to get out of their own way. Own it. It's on you. Don't sign for the package. And then you're going to have a great day. And then I'd love to hear about it. Again, you can text us, and then we'll have them for tomorrow's show as well, 331-684-SOUL or 7685.
Actually, there's not a show tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. That's right. It's Saturday. Oh, and I need to say thank you again for everything. It's been our 1 week anniversary. We've been on the air now since last Friday, and Bob will be moving on to other ventures that he has, the film festival here in Aurora and a bunch of other things. So, Bob, I really wanted to thank you. I also wanted, again, to shout out to Dan from Entreport for helping setting up the back end of everything. Dawn from Nexus Publishing for everything. She does some great stuff. And all the people that have reached out to us on Facebook and Twitter with comments and different things. Oh, and shared. There's been some really cool people. We managed to hit number 1 in our debut, and I didn't look at the numbers this morning, but we were still kind of trending in that position throughout the week. It's all because of our friends, our family, the people that we're connected with on Facebook, because this is where we've done all the advertising for it. Right. So anything that you read or see about this being the number 1 show on IPM Nation is because of you all, the people listening now and the people that have helped us out. Bobby, 10 seconds for a quick thought.
I just want to say thank you for let me hang out with you, and I'll like I said, I'll be back.
I'm looking forward to
sure.
it. All right, everybody, until Monday morning now, remember, don't let them treat you like a pincushion. Do what you got to do. Remember, the courageousness is defined as getting out of your own way. Get out there, be your all-natural being, and unleash your inner superhuman.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.